1960, Hollywood. Today, it's a global symbol glittering awards, red carpets, and billion-dollar blockbusters. But the Hollywood we know wasn't built on glamour. It was built on bold experiments, runaway filmmakers, ruthless studio bosses, groundbreaking stars, and scandals big enough to shake the nation. This is the real story of how a dusty farming town at the edge of America became the movie capital of the world, and how the golden age of Hollywood changed entertainment forever. Before Hollywood was Hollywood-vo, to understand Hollywood's rise, we have to rewind to the late 800s, before the place was anything more than orange groves and dirt roads. In New Jersey, Thomas Edison was producing some of the earliest short films at his Black Maria studio. Across the Atlantic, the Lumière brothers were experimenting with moving images in France. Their films were simple: workers leaving a factory, a train arriving at a station, people walking down a street. But to audiences of the time, these were miracles. Yet the early American film industry had a problem, a big one. 2. Edison's monopoly pushes filmmakers. West Edison held dozens of patents related to film cameras and projectors. He formed the Motion Picture Patents Company, essentially a monopoly. If filmmakers wanted to produce movies, they had to pay Edison's fees. If they didn't pay, they risked lawsuits or even raids by Edison's hired agents. So small, independent filmmakers began looking for a way out. They found it in a place about as far away from Edison's reach as they could get: Southern California. Why Hollywood? Why Los Angeles? In the early 1900s, Hollywood was a quiet agricultural community far from famous. But filmmakers saw three huge advantages. 1. Sunlight, lots of it. Early cameras needed massive amounts of light. California had nearly year-round sunshine. Diverse landscapes. Filmmakers could shoot deserts, forests, mountains, beaches, and small towns, all within a short distance. 3. Distance from Edison. If Edison's agents tried to enforce patents, filmmakers could simply slip over the border into Mexico. By 1910, small film studios began popping up across Los Angeles. One of them, the Biograph Company, brought a young director named D.W. Griffith to shoot a silent film in a sleepy village nearby. The village's name, Hollywood. The birth of the movie studios. 1. The first Hollywood movie in 1910, Griffith filmed in Old California. The first known movie shot in the town of Hollywood. It was the spark that set everything in motion. Soon, other film companies arrived: Paramount, then famous players Lasky, Universal, Fox, Warner Bros., MGM, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. These companies would soon become the Big Five and the Little Three, the studios that ruled Hollywood for decades. 2. Studio bosses, the men who ran Hollywood. The early studio heads weren't artists. They were tough, ambitious businessmen. People like Louis B. Mayer, Adolph Zukor, Paramount, Harry and Jack Warner, Warner Bros., Cole Lemlo, Universal. They built massive studio lots, practically small cities with sound stages, costume departments, backlots, animal wranglers, and armies of writers, directors, and technicians. These studios controlled everything: the actors, the scripts, the production, the distribution, even the theaters where films were shown. This was the beginning of what became known as the Hollywood studio system. Silent, Hollywood's golden moment. 1. The first movie stars in the 1920s and 1920s. Audiences fell in love with silent film actors. Names like Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, Rudolph Valentino. People lined up around the block just to see their faces. Pickford was the queen of the movies. Fairbanks became the original action hero. These stars weren't just actors, they were cultural symbols. 2. Hollywood becomes a dream. The glamorous lifestyle portrayed on screen, romance, adventure, luxury, gave audiences a vision of something bigger. Hollywood became more than a place. It became an idea, and millions of people wanted a piece of it. 3. Scandals shake the industry, but the silent era also brought controversy. The Fatty Arbuckle scandal, the murder of director William Desmond Taylor, the wild parties, the rumors, the secrecy, it all shocked the American public. Politicians demanded accountability. Newspapers called Hollywood immoral. So the studios responded with a system to protect Hollywood's image. The Hays Code and Hollywood Control 1. Cleaning up Hollywood's image in 1930, Hollywood adopted a set of moral guidelines known as the Hays Code. It restricted what could be shown on screen: no nudity, no profanity, no graphic violence, no immoral relationships, no criticism of religion. Criminals could never be portrayed sympathetically. The code shaped Hollywood movies for decades. It created an era of polished, glamorous, clean cinema, but it also limited artistic freedom. 2. Studios micromanaged their stars. Under the studio system, actors weren't freelancers, they were employees, tied to contracts that controlled their lives. Studios could dictate who actors dated, what roles they played, what they wore, even what scandals the studio would cover up for them. Some stars thrived in this system, others suffered under the pressure. But to the public, Hollywood looked perfect. Sound changes everything. 1. Talkies arrive in 1927. Warner Bros. Released The Jazz Singer, the first feature film with synchronized spoken dialogue. This changed filmmaking forever. Actors with heavy accents, weak voices, or poor English sometimes saw their careers collapse overnight. New stars emerged, new genres appeared, and Hollywood truly entered its golden age. The Golden Age, 1930–1950. 1. Hollywood, at its peak, the 1930s and 40s, produced some of the greatest films ever made. Studios perfected genres: westerns, musicals, crime dramas, screwball comedies, war films. Film noir directors like Frank Capra, John Ford Howard, Hawks, Alfred Hitchcock became legends. Actors like Clark Gable, Katharine Hepburn, Humphrey Bogart, Bette Davis, Judy Garland, James Stewart defined an entire generation. Hollywood was unstoppable. Studios helped with military training films. Movies became a morale booster for an anxious nation. Hollywood's influence became global. 3. Escapism. During hard times, the Great Depression and the war created harsh realities. Hollywood offered escape. Lavish musical numbers, grand romances, heroes overcoming impossible odds. Movies were more than entertainment. They were emotional relief. The structure that built an empire. 1. The power of vertical integration. Hollywood's strength came from its structure. Studios controlled production. They made the movies. Distribution. They sent films nationwide. Exhibition. They owned theaters that only showed their films. This system guaranteed profit. But it also created a monopoly. The Supreme Court breaks the studio system in 1948. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled against the studios in the Paramount case. Studios were forced to sell their theaters. Block booking, forcing theaters to take bad films to get good ones, was banned. This ruling marked the beginning of the end of classical Hollywood. The challenges of the 1950s. 1. The rise of television. TV exploded in popularity. For the first time, Hollywood had real competition. People didn't need to go to the theater, they had entertainment at home. Studios panicked, but Hollywood fought back with innovation. Widescreen formats, color films, epic productions, 3D experiments, huge marketing campaigns. Movies had to be bigger and bolder than ever before. 2. The blacklist era. The 1950s also brought political tension. Amid fears of communism, the House Un-American Activities Committee, HOAC, targeted Hollywood. Writers, directors, and actors were questioned. Some refused to testify and were blacklisted, losing their careers. The industry was shaken. The fall of the studio contract system. As court rulings and competition increased, stars became more independent. Actors like Marilyn Monroe and James Dean broke away from studio control. Directors wanted more creative freedom. Hollywood was transforming. The Golden Age was ending. The transition to modern Hollywood. 1. A new era begins. By the late 1950s, the Hollywood of glamorous stars, strict studios, and perfect images was fading. It wasn't dead, just changing. The 1960s would bring new voices, new styles, new genres, more realism, more artistic risks. But the foundation laid by classic Hollywood would never be forgotten. 2. the legacy of the golden age Hollywood shaped. Global fashion, global storytelling, celebrity culture, modern filmmaking. The idea of the movie star, the dream of success, fame, and reinvention, it turned the world's attention toward a single place on the map, a place where imagination became industry, where ordinary people became legends, where stories became global culture. Hollywood didn't just make movies, Hollywood made myths. Closing narration from silent films flickering in small theaters, to massive studio lots buzzing with lights and cameras, to glamorous stars who captured the world's imagination, Hollywood rose from nothing and became the center of global entertainment. It was bold, it was flawed, it was groundbreaking, and it changed the world. The golden age may be gone, but its influence lives in every movie we watch today. Because Hollywood isn't just a place, it's a symbol of human creativity, ambition, and the timeless power of storytelling.